Good morning, everybody. John Spiokla here for GAI Insights for the Gen AI News Briefing. We have Luda Kopkina, Adam Rappaport, Ankaj Mahindra, and soon Kevin Petrie. I think he's having problems with his connection, but we hope to have him join us soon. We got lots going on today. Big announcement in terms of the release of ChatGPT 5.0 and some of the things, and Paul Beyer as well. Look at that. Here we go. Paul, how are you? Remember, you can get the articles if you look at gaiinsights.com/articles. If you are on YouTube, please do like and subscribe, and let's get into it. Ankaj.
Sure, thanks, John. So the first one that we have for today is a big fun, comes from OpenAI, and they have introduced GPT-5.
Yeah, so here we are, GPT-5, the long-awaited, announcement here. What do you think, Adam?
Totally underwhelming. Optional news. Incremental change in a crowded market. It's a product announcement.
I knew you'd say that.
Yeah, no, absolutely essential. Everyone has to pay attention. So this is the new foundation model from the leader, right? There's a lot going on. They've announced 3 models available immediately through the API. There's GPT-5, then Mini and Nano. They all have basically the same capabilities: text and vision, 400K context window, 128K max output tokens, pricing tiered. Part of the big deal with GPT-5 is that it actually determines and does switching between when it wants to do a fast answer or when it requires more reasoning. I think OpenAI is already getting some feedback about. Sorry, did my screen just flashed up? Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, super. They've been getting some feedback already as we see people experiencing. Sorry, Ankaj? What was that you were saying?
What's that?
The problem people are having with it's often not putting in enough thought. Basically, it's deciding to take the fast model route and coming up with poor or inconclusive information. We'll see more from that in the article from Ethan Mollick next. Some pretty good examples illustrating that limitation, but it's an incredibly powerful model. It's designed to be agentic. It's designed to break things into tasks and identify when it needs to think more and when it needs to process through something. It's a massive step forward and definitely essential.
All right, we got a strong essential here. Kevin, what do you think?
I agree with everything Adam said. I think it's essential. It's a big step forward from the big gorilla. And Ethan Mollick has some pretty interesting things to say about it, so I can defer my bigger comments on the release for that part. But yeah, a big step forward. Essential.
Luda? Oh, sorry. Thanks. Luda?
Yeah, I tried it on yesterday, and on a number of projects that I'm working with. Very smooth, but you need to instruct it. So it definitely switches models, and you can actually feel it. So it is a little bit more proactive. So you need to learn how to work with it, but it's very powerful.
Yeah, Ankaj.
Essential, John. To Adam's point, it was a bit underwhelming for me because it was changing the underlying model itself, so was not giving very good responses. It hallucinated a bit. It lost context in between. But other than that, essential.
Paul.
Yeah,
Paul, you're on mute.
I think obviously essential. I think it's really important leaders to try this because it reinforces a couple different things. One, how fast this is moving. 2, when you change your underlying model, not only do your prompts change, but all your GPTs and everything else changes here. So yes, it's great to have this vendor changing all this time, but when you have stuff in production that's in front of customers here, imagine this is your frequently asked questions and it's changing like that here. So you really need to understand and experience that. Third, we continue to see many companies on the secure employee chatbot go back and forth between Microsoft and ChatGPT. I continue to feel, and many companies are believing, that ChatGPT is a better experience, but this also has training. John, you and I, we just trained 50 executives at a company here walking down the pull downs and literally 2 days later, now it's a single pull down here. So it's also implications for that. So it's important for leaders to not only be aware of this, but they get their hands on it and understand the implications.
And Paul, to your point, though, it's as Ashish points out, that the baseline, this is a new baseline, and essentially it just moved it quite high, right? So it's and we need to be aware of it.
Yeah, and yet the other thing, just to highlight, John and I were talking about this yesterday night. The impressive week OpenAI had between the release of the 2 OpenAI models and this new baseline. And, on a $12 billion run rate here, it's incredible. The leaders are continuing to lead here, and breathtaking week for OpenAI as a company, in my view.
Yeah, for me, it's absolutely essential. I think it's worth taking a little more time on it. There's the product market stuff that they're doing, which is amazing. But if you look strategically what they're doing, one of Mike Porter's books, his first popular book, Competitive Strategy, he basically made industrial economics link up to corporate strategy and talked about industry structure and then how profitable is an industry, pharma very profitable, airlines not so profitable, and then what's your position within that industry, kind of how do you play. And you look at what they're doing at OpenAI, it is astounding how they're shaping industry structure. Right, because you think about what they're doing. I've never seen a company do this. And in terms of the level of innovation and commitment happening, maybe pre-war Germany, where they built, they didn't quite get the atom bomb. They built the first jet. They built the first rocket. They built the first cruise missile. They reinvented warfare with Blitzkrieg. I mean, maybe they did a whole bunch of stuff with chemistry. They invented crystal meth for Blitzkrieg. You got a little pack of Mentos that were crystal meth things to help you with your Blitzkrieg. Anyway, so they, true fact, right? In the ration, you actually got a set of crystal meth. With the possible exception of that set of innovations in about an 8-year period of Nazi Germany, we've never seen this level of innovation across different parts of the economy, I would argue. And so you think about what they're doing, they're simultaneously commoditizing the low end by opening up the models, the open weights. Yeah. They're pushing the frontier on the top end. They're attacking both the business to business and the business to consumer market simultaneously. And they're commoditizing all kinds of additional applications that have been built on the models because they're just building it in the way Microsoft did. Microsoft was sued by Sidekick, which was a thing that had all these little attributes. They licensed it for 3 years, and then they built all of the Sidekick stuff right when the contract was supposed to renew. They opened, Windows had all those functions in it, but that was over a 3-year period for simple things. We're talking months here. They're just collapsing all this stuff. So again, with the exception of the run up to World War II, I don't think we've seen this kind of innovation at this level ever in the economy.
John, oh, by the way, and they're on the most visible market, head to head with the 3 most powerful hyperscalers who are deadly going right after them, doing everything they possibly can to decapitate them. And Zuckerberg running around giving $100 million offers to all their top employees.
And the nation of China is trying to do the same thing on the low end.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about hyper competition, whatever comes after hyper, giga competition. I mean, this is like, nutty level of competition. And this isn't vaporware. This is shipware.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. This is stuff in the marketplace. They're not doing any kind of market overhang. They're actually delivering.
Like we're using it today and they announced
right. And what is interesting, and we'll talk about it later with the foundation capital positioning.
Yeah.
They actually look at the data and understand where the applications are more, sticky. And that results with the 5.0 going deeper into like health area, right? Yeah. So we'll see more of that. And they're certainly doing that and leveraging their knowledge and data. So this is, kudos to them for sure.
Yeah, and Luda, I know they're smart over there, the monkey brain humans, but it's almost like they have some digital workers over there who are even smarter than their competitors working for it. It's just something else is going on in that company over there.
Well, I certainly OpenAI doing their thing. Another one is doing their thing is Anthropic. They also have digital things in their like differentiated space, like coding and the like. So they're both pushing. Yeah, very good.
Amazing. All right. Okay. Essentially, it is. Akash, next.
Okay, the next one is from Ethan Malik, and it also talks about GPT-5.
Yeah, I love the way you put this. It just does stuff. What do you think here, Kevin?
Just does stuff.
Unnerving is one of the words he uses in there. I think on GPT-5 is unnerving and impressive and so forth. And this is essential in my view. Ethan Malik is always thoughtful and has a lot of value to add. He makes two particular points about what's new. One is that humans previously haven't known, and it's natural, which model to defer to for different types of problems. And so this is going to switch models, change those channels as needed in the background. It won't always go to the right model. You have to kind of figure out which prompt. If you say think real hard, maybe it'll go to more of the sophisticated reasoning models, but it's going to do that in the back end for you, which makes it more usable. The other key point that Ethan makes is that these models, or GPT-5, is very proactive. It'll simply do things for you. So it's like a new employee with a lot of initiative that moves ahead with execution and creates a lot of thoughtful material that Ethan, as a business school professor, thought was MBA level material within seconds. So that's amazing. I think that this raises a lot of interesting questions. One of them, John, I love that you mentioned Michael Porter. His piece that I liked the most was talking about what is strategy and the need to do something different, have a unique mix of activities that your competitors don't. And I think that we're reaching a point where these models are forcing companies to think very hard about what it is they can do differently than the model, or than others using the model, because this is lowering the bar for different companies to get into industries, and it's going to be harder for companies to differentiate themselves. So essential reading creates a lot of raises a lot of important questions about where we are.
Yeah, very interesting. And you read this. So I'm sorry, you said this is important or essential reading for Ethan?
I think essential.
All right, we got a vote for essential here. Adam, in the pregame, you were where I was, which was important. What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's important. Kevin makes a good case. I wouldn't argue with essential. It's a bit of a read. It makes some good points. I think especially given how new this is, he's really on point here. And in some ways, it sort of goes hand in hand with the news itself. So I think I could be on the fence. I'll say that much.
Okay, so we have an on the fence, I to E. Ludo, where are you?
I was important, but listening to us talking about the introduction and then from Kevin talking about why this is essential, I think this is an explanation of sort of what behind the model and how to use it. So I am upping my rating from important to essential. I think we need that type of an explanation.
All right. So Ethan Malik as chief explainer. What do you think here, Paul?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the first one was just a release. This is an explainer of the release. Given our energetic commentary, it's definitely essential. And I think, he's obviously been fortunate to get released of this early. So he had this written ahead of time. So I think he's had 2 or 3 days to think about it, which also adds to the value of the explainer.
Yeah. Akash, where are you on this?
Essential, John. So, John, I went through, I think, 6 other explainers, which were through other influencers as well. And Ethan Malik is the only one who explained it like it is, not hyping the release or anything, and telling how to use it, what you can expect out of it. So, I think essential for that particular reason.
All right. I'll come off of important. And, I just want to point out 2 things. First of all, he says MBA level work, but it's Wharton MBA level work. Anyway, the other,
Most
other
people
thing,
view that as positive, but we know that you have a different.
the other thing is that I don't think they teach industrial economics at Wharton, so that's why you didn't get the Mike Porter stuff. Anyway, but
I'm just so you know, there's been unbelievable academics who have not gotten jobs at Harvard Business School because they weren't confident or arrogant enough here. So
no, it's not arrogance. It's the thing we call the administrative point of view. You're not simply an economist with a management paid job. You're actually an executive. Anyway, that's another whole argument. All right, essential it is. Next, Sankash.
I might just make one quick additional point, which is I think that the bar is rising very quickly for users to be hyper diligent and vigilant about how they're using these things, because these models can start to go in a lot of different directions as they're so proactive. Humans, I think the skill set and the training required and the intelligence required on the part of humans to be in the loop here and guide this stuff is not going down, it's going up. Because these models, you've got to govern them. They're still hallucinating. They're still going weird directions.
Yeah.
And so I think we should underestimate the onus on humans.
Kevin, I think that's a great point. And this last 30 years of productivity automation has the boundary condition is after my monkey brain tells you to stop, you stop. Excel never comes back and tells me more analysis of the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, this notion of reapportioning cognition and decision rights into the machine and having a dialogue, we're just at the beginning of that because, you know, it's one of those things. There are certain things that are so fundamental in your thinking, you're not even aware that you're framing the problem that way. And I would argue that Fred Taylor and scientific management, the idea of taking stuff out of humans and putting it into machines, into deterministic, one-way conversation of taking knowledge and scaling it by sticking it into a machine, whether that machine's a computer or a metal press, like doing that and then engineering the process to continue to push more into the machine. We've been doing that for literally 150 years. And, you know, that is a completely different mentality than having a dialogue with an active agent that, to your point, Kevin, sometimes gets it right, most of the time gets it right, some of the times doesn't. And I hate military analogies, and they're second only to sports analogies in terms of want to make me vomit. But to use a military analogy, this really is special forces training, right? The kind of weapons that those folks get, the kind of things that they can do, whether it's explosives or, you know, you name it, right? You have to be trained, and you have to be able to count on your coworkers, and you have to be able to dynamically allocate decision rights. It's like, okay, I can't handle this. Kevin, it's time for you to take over. That whole way of thinking. But in there is a hive of silicon intelligence that has different roles and capabilities. You know, it's another whole posse of capability. That's just a totally different way to manage and organize. And then to go to your point, Kevin, about what it's going to do to the industrial economics as to where the economies of scale are, you know, where the productivity is going to go in terms of capital versus labor versus customer. That is all up in the air right now, I would say. So, okay, essentially it is.
John,
Okay.
can you just explain for the audience what you mean by decision rights? Or give me a really simple example of that, just so
Yeah,
it's
really
really important concept.
Yeah, really easy. Program trading. Okay, so it was the early 1980s. A guy named Dean LeBaron created the first kind of program trading at scale. So you are CalPERS, you know, the California mega, you know, pension fund, billions and billions of dollars. And you would give it to active money managers, right, who would try to, you know, increase your worth. Dean LeBaron came along and he made a set of algorithms and said, okay, if you see these conditions in the marketplace, you have authority to trade this amount of money to take these positions given this risk profile. So you essentially took the decision rights that were in the active money manager, hey, go do this trade, and you put it into the machine based on a program. So you allocated the decision right into the machine and given conditions. And so program trading on Wall Street is a perfect example of the reallocation of decision rights. One other place, a little more scary, for over a decade now, North Korea has, in the demilitarized zone, North Korea has little robots that do recognition. They have Gatling guns on them. They're tank tread kind of, you know, things. And they have local authority to kill. So if they see something and they, whatever their decision, you know, their recognition things are, okay, it doesn't look like a North Korean soldier, that thing has authority to shoot it. That's another example of allocation of a decision right.
Yeah, this is super interesting. Ashish is making a good point about the mismatch. I was thinking about it as well. It's like models are getting way smarter than the capability of humans to use them.
Right.
So and there's a big gap developing here for sure.
Yeah, our educational system has a lot of work to do.
Yeah.
Forget the educational system. I mean, just I think it's going to start first in warfare. I mean, where do you see this stuff first? You see it in warfare and Wall Street.
Crime. And crime.
Crime too. Yeah, great. Yeah,
Money.
so
All money.
Crooks, Wall Street, and warfare is where the leading edges in this stuff.
Adult entertainment. Yeah. Porn. Yeah.
Well, but,
Yeah,
but
don't forget
porn,
that.
I was going to say porn's coming up the rear, but I won't say that. I would say they're the fourth
Edit that out.
in that. They're the fourth in that one by a long shot. Anyway, all right, next.
Okay, the next one comes from AWS and talks about the Diva logistics agent powered by Amazon Bedrock.
Yeah, here we have the Diva logistics agent. What do you think here, Luda?
Yeah, so this can beat any discussion we've just had, right? So it's just a plain vanilla agent. But it's okay. So this is a good article. It's about DC company in India that has, it's a logistics company that gets to process 400,000 customer queries a month. They had an old bot, or not even a bot, an old support tool that was called Diva, and it was struggling actually getting the customer real agents to do additional work. So this is a replacement effort with AI. And now, after all this work, the new Diva agent 2.0 reduce the amount of stuff going to the to personal customer agents by 50%, which we know. So it is a good rounded case with an explanation of the front end, the back end, how it was done, with good results. So, and I think there are many, many, many companies out there that are doing exactly that. And for that reason, I think it's an important case to flag. So I was rating it important.
All right, we're looking at an important here. Ankaj, what do you think?
Important, John, based on everything that Luda just mentioned.
Yeah, nicely laid out and everything. Adam?
Yep, classic. All parts considered use case important.
Kevin?
I think it's important. I think I struggle with these customer service case studies because I think ultimately the real arbiter is not efficiency of moving people through the assembly line, but rather retaining them and keeping them happy. And so without CSAT scores or retention scores over time, it's really hard to judge whether this stuff's working. I've had so few positive interactions with any type of automated assistant over years. A little jaded. Important, but I think people ought to have the customer satisfaction dynamic in their metrics on these things.
Yeah, I completely agree. It could be a false economy, right? You're saving money on customer service and losing money on total lifetime value of a customer, right?
Yep.
Yeah,
yes.
Totally. Yep. But all right, well, let's go ahead and give Akash, Paul, all set? Yes, important.
Yep.
All right, important it is. Next.
Okay, the next one comes from Foundation Model and talks about when model providers eat everything, a survival guide for service as software startups.
Yeah, so interesting to see these VCs continue to compete on a content basis to try to promote their book as well as, get share of voice in the marketplace for entrepreneurs. But what do you think here, Ankaj?
Yep. So, John, this article talks about how model labs are increasingly becoming competitors for all these startups that are based on their LLMs, right? So it talks about how 2022 was the year of rappers, 23, 24 was AI native startups, and now it's AI agents, and how OpenAI, Anthropic, and peers, they have abstract their models and are crushing these competitors. And then it also talks about what are some ways in which these startups, they can create their own differentiator. This was important for me for slightly different reason. I think some of the things that they mention, like building custom evaluation, reward pipelines, or controlling the execution layer, or having a domain expert with the customer, those things can be leveraged by enterprises to decide what product won't be eaten by these LLM models going forward. So that's why I was important on this.
Yes, important. I also want to be a little mindful of time. We spent a lot of time in the front talking about GPT-5. So important in terms of reasoning through what's going to survive and not. What do you think, Luda?
It
Can't
also,
hear you. Oh, sorry.
oh, okay. For slightly different reason, this has the description of how you use RL, and I think reinforcement learning, and to make it sort of yours. I think that's from that reason it's also important.
All righty. Okay, we're going important here. I just want to be mindful of time. Anything else from the crowd? We good with important? Kevin, anything to add or change? Okay.
No, important.
All right, important it is. Akash next.
Ankash, you're on mute.
Can't hear you. Trying to unmute your mic. I don't know what's happening here. Okay, we've got you got to unmute yourself there, Ankash. Oh, we lost him. All right, let me go ahead and open one of these up. I think he's probably having we have a Shopify agentic commerce thing. I'd like Kevin, you could take if you want to go ahead. I know you've read this. I'll go ahead and get the article up.
Yeah. So this is a kind of a technical how-to enable agentic commerce so that agents can go out and shop and engage with other agents on humans' behalf. Interesting, technical level, I would say optional for the AI leader. I didn't see aha breakthroughs there. It's more of a how-to guide so that people who work for AI leaders, if the company's interested in this use case, should do the reading rather than the AI leader.
Gotcha. Yeah, I thought it was very interesting in terms of their, they lay out how to get to the MCP server and so forth. Also made me wonder if I want to, will these platforms like Shopify and HubSpot and so forth be places where agentic standardization happens, right? Because so many transactions are flowing through it. So you get it as optional. Anybody going to make the case for important here?
Not for enterprise. I don't think. Usually they run their own shops. I mean, I may be underestimating how much business goes through Shopify stores, but I think at the enterprise scale, I wasn't sure it was enough to warrant an important.
Yeah, quite a bit, but it is a narrow example. So as to John's point, it will have to go a little bit more like a platform. So they are providing a platform for their customers, right? But it will have to be broader, right, to be important.
All right, we're headed for optional. Paul, you okay with that?
Yes.
Ankash? All right. Thanks. Ankash, good to have you back here. Go for the last one here.
Yep. The last one comes from Microsoft and talks about Project IRE, which autonomously identifies malware at scale.
Yeah, very interesting. Using AI to beat AI. Adam, what do you think?
Very, very cool idea. Very cool research. It is research. It's certainly optional for the AI leader. Basically, their ultimate goal, as they say near the end there, is to detect novel malware, so like zero-day malware, directly in memory at scale. So what they're doing is basically reverse engineering the software as it's coming over the wire and understanding whether or not it's malicious, which is an incredibly powerful concept. And to be able to solve this challenge is great, but it's research and optional for the AI leader.
All right, optional for the AI leader. That's the vote here. What do you think, Kev?
I agree. Optional, interesting, but I think articles like this need to start meeting a higher standard, which is talking about how they're fitting into processes and how humans are actually engaging with these things. This was a little unclear on how someone could actually use it. It's interesting to see Microsoft is cooking this up, but how are they actually building it into their process? Because they didn't talk about the false negative rate, how much bad stuff they're letting through. So it obviously requires a lot of human vigilance.
I thought I had it in there, but I thought it was like 2% or something. Anyway, but yes, they don't talk a lot about the thing.
It was false negative.
Yeah. Luda, where are you?
Yeah, optional. They're using it internally. They are sharing the research and saying they're working on it, but they are not releasing it. So it's a behind the scenes, I think, effort for now.
All righty. Paul, Akash, your head for optional?
Yep.
Optional.
All righty. Very good. Optional it is. I'll get the top board here. Let's see. Announcements. Our Monday Learning Lab. I'm going to be doing a China versus US review. So it's a tall order. I'm going to have a busy weekend because I'm sure things will happen between now and then. But this, I do think that we're talking about the titans of the world basically having it out here. I think, and the other part, it's going to be very interesting because it's also going to include not just military and industrial power, but also energy and its dynamics, because I think the relationship between the energy flow around silicon intelligence versus biologic intelligence, or in combination with biologic intelligence, is going to be very interesting. And what that means for the ecology and political economy. Obviously, energy has shaped our political economy since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, and everything. So going forward, it's going to be very interesting, and I think it'll be the central social political issue of our age going forward.
And John, I believe you also make a point that the China-U.S. AI race is bigger and more important than the U.S.-Russian space race.
Absolutely, no question. Yes.
Yeah,
it's bigger than the space race. No question. So that'll be 7:00 Eastern on Monday. Be there or be square. And then we continue to get a fantastic group of folks for our conference coming up September 29 and 30 in Boston. Anybody who's interested in insurance, we have a ton of insurance folks, ton from financial services, life sciences and healthcare, and also the whole demand funnel. We're going to be talking about how to use AI at different stages of the demand funnel, which we think is going to get more and more competitive. And in addition to that, really think of what we're trying to do here is, if you go to other conferences, you're shopping, learning, so forth. At our conference, we hope you learn how to actually apply what you bought. So we are more, interactive cooking show than we are, QVC, buy this slicer. Okay.
And to that end, John, I know we're wrapping up here. 5 companies now have purchased tables for their whole executive team. So we encourage you to do that. Forbes has officially signed on as a transformational partner. We're delighted on that. IBM signed last week, and we just added 2 executives from Nissan. So this conference is really getting momentum.
All righty. Excellent.
Awesome.
Any other announcements? All righty, here we are. 2 essentials, 2 importance, 2 optionals. Very balanced day. Have a great AI weekend, and see you all on Monday. Bye now.
Thanks all.
Thanks, Kevin, for joining.
Thanks, Kevin.